Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar guest program, Guest Trainers Journeys from Ship to Shore. My name is Rhea, and I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome this amazing panel of women today. How are you all?
Oh, good, thanks. Great, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on board. I want to introduce you one by one, and if you could just give us a little bit of information on where you're from and what got you into training. Angela Wallace from the Purser Trainer. Welcome.
Wow, first up. No pressure then. Yeah, I'm Angie Wallace. I currently live in Mallorca in Spain, but originally from the UK. Fell into yachting all by accident, and then training kind of fell into that as well, actually. But I used to train back in my old days for beauty therapy. So actually being in front of people and helping them move and transition in their career is it's been in my blood, and I absolutely love what I do now.
That's exciting. It's always good to love what you do, right? They say you never work a day in your life as long as you love what you do.
Absolutely.
And then we have Karine Rayson. How are you from the Crew Coach?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to be here, and just listening to Angie speak and looking at all of you here today, I get so excited because it's just an incredible bunch of women who want to make a significant impact in the industry, and we share so many values, especially when it comes to training. So just wanted to share that. So my name's Karine Rayson, and I'm originally from South Africa, and I'm currently in Perth, Australia. And I got into the industry 10 years ago and worked on 3 vessels. And then, yeah, something happened for me, I think, on board, where I was like, right, I want to make a bigger impact based on what I was observing. And so I just continued further studies and fell into training, teaching prisoners. Never thought that would ever happen.
Fantastic. Right, Angela Wallace, the Purser Trainer, welcome. Oh, I've already introduced you. Okay, I've got to edit that out, sorry. Helen Grundy from the Crew Academy, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Rhea. As you said, I'm Helen Grundy. I've been with the Crew Academy now for about 2 years. I had a previous career in yachting, which spans about 12 years, I think, in total. And much like everyone here, actually, like Angela, I started off as a beauty therapist, so kind of went into that dual role. And then fell into training as well. Much like sort of everyone here, I felt the need to bring about more structure, more focus, more sort of career paths for students, particularly in interior anyway at the time. So I'm in the UK, from the UK, and with the Crew Academy, as I said there. So yeah, very nice to see you all.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. And we have Norton from Trilogy Luxury Academy. Welcome.
Thank you, Rhea. It's really great to be here, and really lovely to see everyone. As I said, we only really see each other at AGMs these days with COVID, so it's nice to be able to see everyone's faces. Yeah, I joined yachting in 2004, also like most people. And then leaving the industry, also started training more. That I was asked to train by the British Battle Institute of London for them, who I'd done my training with. And that sort of gave me the confidence to then start my training in yachting and start Trilogy. So yeah, and Laura and I are here in Launder, which is near Durban in South Africa. And yeah, we're really excited to be hearing everyone's stories and sharing ours.
Welcome. And then I will introduce your cohort, Laura Launder from Trilogy Luxury Academy as well. Welcome.
Hi, and thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here. So I come from a bit of a hospitality background, from South Africa originally, and I was working in the private game reserves, so sort of 5-star establishments, and I just loved it. I loved the hospitality and being able to do an amazing job for people and for guests to walk away saying that was the most incredible experience of my life. And then while I was there, I heard about yachting, and I just thought, wow, to be able to combine travel and hospitality just sounded like the best thing ever to me. So in 2005, I took myself off to Antibes and managed to get a job. And the plan was only for it to be a year or two. 15 years later, I finally stepped away from my last boat in January of last year. I was kind of in two minds about whether I would be looking for another job, but I had been talking to Lauren for a number of years about doing some senior crew training and the need for training in the industry. But of course, I'd been busy with work, and we were still talking, and yes, we must do it, we must. And then, of course, COVID happened and lockdown, and it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to actually sit down and finally do what we'd been talking about. So I joined Trilogy, and here I am.
Nice. Well, welcome. And Lynne Edwards, how are you from Luxury Hospitality Management? Lovely to see you again.
Thank you, Rhea. Lovely to see everybody. And I'm just enjoying just the demonstration of the scope of the GU.E.S.T program, because here we all are from the far corners of the world, Australia and South Africa and Spain and England and France. I'm English and I live in France. I'm very similar to Laura rather. I kind of fell into teaching quite by accident in the hospitality industry. I always wanted to be a teacher. Up until I did my A-levels, and then having done that, I thought, oh my goodness, how boring, because I could only think of being an English teacher. So decided in the end to go into hospitality, so did a degree in hotel management, and that was back in 1997, but started teaching in the yachting industry in the early 2000s. I'd been working in Australia in hotels, came back to Europe for my mother's marriage, and came down to see my sister in the south of France, and fell into yachting. So enjoyed a career in yachting and then in training. So that was a lovely kind of synergistic route for me as well. And been very, very happy to be part of the GU.E.S.T program since its inception. I think it's in 2008, wasn't it, Joey?
Yes, it was about that, yeah.
Yeah. Long time. It's 15 years ago now. It's amazing that it's been going so long. Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to introduce Joey Meen. Last but not least, of course, she is the GU.E.S.T program director. Welcome, Joey.
Thank you very much for having us. And it's just gorgeous to see all our gorgeous trainers here today, and really appreciate the amount of work and effort we all do as a team. The GU.E.S.T program has been developed over a decade, nearly 2 decades of a lot of hard work, and the input is primarily from the trainers to keep it on trend and keep it developed and reviewed, and new courses and new projects that we're always talking on Zoom with. I see a lot of the same faces week in, week out when I steal some of their time when they contribute to many of the projects. So it's lovely to see you today to share your stories this time, rather than me pounding for information from you. But yeah, I mean, my background is really just the training. I don't teach as these gorgeous people do. I'm the sort of conductor putting it all together with regards to the background of what the course content is and the specifications for the criteria of the training program within the GU.E.S.T portfolio of courses. So I sort of drive it forward, but I don't have the talents that these ladies have with the teaching and the know-how. So I'm always in awe of the trainers that join us, and very appreciated and very, very valued to the whole program. Yeah.
Well, I want to take it back to the start. We always have to start somewhere, and the start is probably the best. For the veterans, and I'm not going to call anybody out on that, whoever wants to answer this question. For the veterans, what was interior like when you first started back in 2000 or earlier? Was there training? Was there someone that could lead the way? Was there someone that could teach you how to do certain things? Or was it sort of fly by the seat of your pants type idea?
I'll jump in there. It was being a veteran. It was definitely fly by the seat of your pants. And if you went in as a young stewardess, then you were learning from somebody who was also flying by the seat of their pants. And so you really didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know. And I think that's the most valuable thing about the GU.E.S.T program, is that for the youngsters coming into the industry now, they have such a wealth of talent and experience to so easily tap into, because those of us who've been doing this from the inception, or even for the last 10 years, have put so much of our knowledge and our experience into the courses, and they have evolved. since we started them in 2008. And so yeah, it was very much a suck it and see situation, like walking down the quay, getting hired probably by the way you look or the way you were dressed or the way you walked or how desperate it was to get somebody on board. And qualifications were not high on the agenda when we were looking for work in the early days. Thankfully, that is changing. And with that change, of course, will come a much more balanced industry where the interior are being looked upon as qualified, experienced, relevant crew members rather than just unqualified people off the dock who anyone can make a bed and clean a toilet. But of course, it's nothing to do with that nowadays. The industry is so changed, and the GU.E.S.T program has managed to keep up with that by adjusting the courses as we go along, adding new elements to the courses, as I'm sure Joey will probably talk about later. But yeah, at the beginning, there was really nothing at all to support interior crew.
And if I can jump in there, Rhea, you know, from Lynne started a bit before us, and I started in 2004, which is a bit after Lynne started. Even then, I mean, I'd done a bit of waitressing, and I remember getting on my first boat and not knowing anything. And one of the values that I think, and the feedback we get from the GU.E.S.T program, so many girls who do the course, they go, how do people get into the industry without knowing this? And I think, you know, confidence, it would have been so nice to just have that confidence. I was absolutely terrified, I think, for the first month that I worked on board, and the damage that I did to that poor yacht that I worked on, you know. It's amazing. I would love to have had the people, you know, who even, you know, sitting on this panel, just to be able to know what you're doing. And I think, you know, everyone talks about this amazing 6-star industry, and but the quality of the crew didn't always meet with those expectations. And you've got these amazing you know, individuals who can now contribute to that, and you know, meet that, because it's supposed to be the epitome of luxury yachting, but there was no training to actually meet that, you know. And I wish that there had been, because I think, you know, well, I just think personally, for me, I could have done a lot better job in the beginning, and I had to self-teach a lot of the stuff that I learned right in the beginning. Then, you know, and I mentioned earlier, I trained for the British Battlers Institute, and I went and trained with them, you know, but I wish that I'd had the opportunity to be more yacht specific, and that people have these days. And I think that's, you know, yeah, a lot of it, as Lynne was saying, it's a lot of flying by the seat of your pants and learning from people who are doing the same.
Absolutely. I have to say, I fell into yachting very much by accident. It wasn't even on my radar. And I managed to blag my way onto a 38-meter yacht in Fiji, and just said, I can do stewardessing. Easy, isn't it? And thankfully the captain just was obviously so desperate, and he said, yes, you know, come on and you know, just help us out with this charter. And I had no idea, well, like, what's a charter? I had no idea. I mean, I'd been hitchhiking on sailing boats across the Pacific, so small little sailing boats. Now I'm on a 38-meter motor yacht with proper flushing toilets, which was luxury. And I kind of just took over and just went, using my common sense. And we had some wonderful Australian guests on board, and I just got on really well with them. And I think my innate nature of wanting to be hospitable to people and serve them drinks and make sure that they're really well taken care of got me through. And then, of course, you know, I did my STCW in Australia, and then came over to Europe and got on yachts from there and worked my way up as a deck stew. And we never even talked about training. It just didn't even come into any form of a conversation. So I totally was flying by the seat of my pants and using common sense. And, you know, I have an innate sense of cleanliness and that as well. So it got me through it. But I think if there had been training courses available that I was aware of, it would have been amazing. And I probably then would have been able to excel better at being the stewardess, and then, you know, working my way up. And I think now with the G.U.E.S.T program, it's out there and people are becoming much more aware of it, and it's putting a fantastic standard for everybody to attain and get that level of education to pass on, you know, to the captains, to the owners, helping to mentor younger crew members along. It's just fantastic. And I wish that I could turn back time a little bit and start all over again.
Helen, let me ask you, we have been talking about 20 plus years ago. Now, do you think that today the responsibilities and the expectations are higher, or is it just that yachting has definitely grown and there is just a need to have more training?
Yeah, I think the latter, what you said there. I think that now the yachts are getting bigger, owners are getting richer, it seems. There's a call for crew to be qualified, trained, you know, proficient in the industry now. And I think that luckily that is including the interior, because quite like Lynne said, I think I was just coming out of when it wasn't quite as recognised as I was entering. For me, it was, this is 10, 12 years ago, it was like, I think that that's right to be going and starting a training course before I entered. And that's how I looked at it anyway. But like Angela said as well, I felt a natural empathy for a hospitality. I was waitressing when I was 15, 16, etc. And so I worked really hard and then trained, and then, you know, super yachting sort of, came sort of natural to me. And now I see students coming in and out, and they are also aware of the competitiveness and the standards that most yachts now do require. So yeah, slightly different in some aspects, but also very prevalent now.
Karine, let me ask you, the crew that are coming to you now, are those people that have been in the industry for a while, or are you finding that green crew are deciding that they want to have this education prior to even going on board? And are the owners expecting them to have quite a bit of education, regardless of the fact that they're green?
I'm not too sure how privy or how aware the owners are with regards to the training that's necessary for crew. However, when I started in the industry, all I did was my silver service training in Cape Town, and the crew that I see now coming for the advanced leadership course are definitely experienced crew rather than junior crew. And obviously you need to have your prerequisites or mandatory qualifications in order to do the advance. So with regards to the G.U.E.S.T interior training, they might know more information about that, because the course that I run under G.U.E.S.T is the advanced leadership course.
Well, Joey, let me ask you then, is there higher expectations for green crew now? Is there higher expectations for any crew straight across the board, but especially green crew?
I think we have to go back to the owner. Yes, is the answer to your question, the short answer. But I think we go back to the owner. You know, an owner goes to a hotel and a restaurant, you know, there's an expectation of service. And, you know, they wouldn't be looking at someone that's new and think they don't know what they're doing. So you need to be trained before you're in a position at that high-end level of hospitality to be able to manage the expectations of the clients and the guests. And I think there's no different to a yacht, because the owners are expecting that. They don't. And I think it's been a while, I think owners generally tend to see the more experienced people as front of house. So they don't necessarily always know what's happening behind the scenes with the junior crew. And what we find then is the junior crew are trying to learn on the job. But of course, that doesn't necessarily work if you've got a busy charter, you've got large families, you've got demanding guests. You're going to need all hands in the front of house to help with all of this. And I think that the owners don't necessarily always know who's trained and who's not. That they expect you to be hired based on you understanding and knowing what the job is. That's what they're paying the salary for. It's like, I'm paying you to do this job, therefore the expectation is you can do this job. And I think coming back to the hotel scenario, you sit down to have a meal in a restaurant or your experience in a hotel with service. There is that expectation. You're paying for it at that level because that's the star hotel you've chosen. You transition that to yacht is no different. So I think the pressure really is expectation of owner, and that starts from green crew right the way up. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Angela, for you having been on a yacht, what was it with, the training that you had on board and the years that you had on board? And there comes a time, I think, that we all decide that, yachting it's time to go ashore, period. We all have that expiry date, whether it be the industry tells us we have the expiry date or we ourselves decide that it's our expiry date. What was it about yachting that gave you the experience you needed to come on shore?
By being a purser, actually. I worked my way up, as I said, from deck stew all the way up to being a purser, and being slightly older when I came into the industry, being aware that, especially nowadays, it does tend to be a younger person's game. And I did find myself approaching 50 and thinking, by being older and having that sort of ingrained into my culture, if you like, that by a certain age you should be doing this, this, and this. Well, I kind of turned that on its head, but at the end of the day, I was approaching 50 and still working on board, and I thought it was about time I came ashore, because I will then miss the boat, if you like, for transitioning ashore. So that, for me, was the catalyst of moving. It was my age. But being a purser, it is thankfully one of those positions you could have stayed a little bit longer. But for me, I felt 10 years of being at sea, it was time to kind of get my roots, get a dog.
We love your dog, Angie.
I guess it's hard to have animals on board when you're crewing.
Absolutely, but with training now and having a really, really great structure, I'm incredibly fortunate. The fact that I do work from home, I built an online platform under the G.U.E.S.T program, giving that structure, it enables me to be quite adept at that transition from ship to shore, and I live the best of both worlds. I do something that I love as for work, and yet I can still be with my dog and enjoy the home life by working from home.
Laura, let me ask you, for you, when you decided to transition to shore, the time that you were on board, did you feel that there was enough importance placed on the training for interior crew? And did you feel that you were offered enough opportunity to train?
Well, when I started, as I said, it was in 2005, and there was not much in terms of training. To be honest, actually, I started without even an STCW because it wasn't compulsory if you were on a private vessel, which is unheard of these days. So there just wasn't much in terms of training out there. And I'll tell you, when I first started, as I said, I come from South Africa. So wine was really challenging for me because we were mostly serving French wines. And I had no idea how to read a wine label. And I remember sitting in my cabin with a massive tome of a book, I think it was Larousse, desperately trying to teach myself French wine. And like, what did it mean? I had no idea. And I just had no one to turn to. It was really challenging. And of course, this is pre-Facebook and Instagram. And I mean, we didn't even have internet on the yacht. And we were on a world cruising yacht. So we weren't going into the ports where there were a lot of other yachties who I could even ask on the dock, like, please desperately help me. I don't know what is going on. But it has been so encouraging over the years to see that training really has become quite important to the crew, and especially the interior crew. And just to touch on what Joey was saying, I've always found it astounding that high-end hotels and restaurants require like impeccable training for their staff, yet you'll step onto a super yacht and find people have got no training. So I'm so excited to actually be a part of this journey and this training, because I just think it's so important in the yachting industry that people do some training, and don't be like me and get onto a boat and like want to cry every night because you can't read a wine label, for instance. And just the training really does help. And I've noticed a change in the caliber of crew that I've hired over the years. There's definitely a difference between the crew who come on board, who've had training, and those who are just sort of decided they want to have a gap year.
So Lynne, tell me what it is about training that gives you personal satisfaction, because you've been doing it for quite a while. And, you know, whenever I see you, you're talking about training, you're talking about the G.U.E.S.T program. What is it about that training that just gives you such a high?
There are a number of things really, Rhea, but I think it is so wonderful to have students in front of you at whatever level it is and seeing light bulb moments, so that you know that the information you're giving them is really lighting them up and really fast tracking them through all the sorts of sometimes quite challenging learning curves that we go through. You know, well, we went through rather as younger stewardesses without any training. So that's very satisfying. But also, of course, and all of us here will agree, I'm sure, we also learn an awful lot from our students. So I really love that part of it as well. So keeping up to date with what's happening, sharing different experiences, and that all increases our knowledge that we can then take on to, you know, pass on to other students. So there are lots of elements which really I find very fulfilling. But I think particularly with the G.U.E.S.T program is, as it stands now, we've created this amazing career path. So we can see right from the early stages of introductory crew, right through to the people that are going through management and leadership and purser courses, their kind of advancement through the industry at a very professional level. And I think that's incredibly satisfying. And it's not just satisfying, it's for me, sitting around with all the other girls here, the fellow trainers, it feels like a family. You know, we feel we maybe should be rivals in some way, but I don't think I've ever felt a rivalry. It's all of us working together to a common goal, which is providing this fantastic career path training for interior crew to empower them and take the fear away from the job that they're doing, so that we can send them from the beginning of the class 5 days later to say, you are now different people. You now have these empowering skills to equip you to go onto a boat, which can be pretty intimidating, not just the workload itself or walking into a yacht and going, oh my goodness, how do I look after this silk headlining or this, you know, hand woven carpet or this gold-plated table, whatever it might be. That's intimidating. And when you're intimidated and you're in a state of fear, you can't give your best. So you send people out of the classroom with all of this knowledge, which gives them confidence, which allows them to perform at a much higher level and therefore enjoy their jobs more. And the long-term result of that is that we get people who stay in the industry longer. It creates better longevity, better employee engagement. All of those sort of things are offshoots of the training program. So it really is a win-win situation, both giving the knowledge and receiving back from the student.
Yeah. I think also to add to that, I think, you know, if you look at what the training offers, I guess there's three main elements. You've got the soft skills, which I think is the coping skills. It's the you know, the skill sets that are giving you confidence and as Lynne, I love that word empowering, because it's such a fiery word for something that actually is exactly what you see with the students coming out of a classroom, but that comes from within. You know, the technical skills is the other area, and I guess that's the information, that's the knowledge of how to do some of this, you know, sort of, as Lynne says, you know, gold-plated tables or you know, professional laundry side of things, and the service, and you know, there's so many elements to the interior training's job. You know, their role on board covers it's multi layers of skill sets needed. And I think the other side then is sort of health and safety. It's that awareness of, you know, what you're working with and how to manage that. And I think that's another big element that, I mean, even if you look at some of the deck and tech and even the onboard operations through, you know, the management companies have the ISM, the International Safety Management Systems, and they're very good at checking that. But it's very focused on engineering and the deck side. They don't actually I could be wrong, but I've looked at quite a few of the ISM from various companies, including some of the big boys. And they don't actually have anything in there about interiors working with chemical products and machinery, and where's all the safety management for them? So I think they have been slightly a forgotten department for many, many years. And I think what the G.U.E.S.T program is doing is actually empowering individuals to understand their role, what they need to know, what they should be supported with on board, as well as how to actually manage it as an individual, as a person coming into that environment.
Yeah. And in doing so, what we're doing is enabling them to meet the expectations of the owners and the charter guests, who Joey quite rightly said, when they're paying $300,000 a month to be on a yacht, a week rather, to be on a yacht, your expectation is that the people that are serving you in whatever way it might be, by doing your laundry or making your bed or serving your food, are absolutely doing it to a very, very high standard. And that's an obligation we have. We should be training people to be able to do it to that sort of standard.
Also, Lynne, if I can add to you and to Joey, there's a very important part that also gets that they learn during the training is what their rights are as a seafarer. And I'm sure we've all heard so many stories of, and especially for us, for South Africa, South Africans with our passport, we're so grateful for any job that often people will take the job. And even last year, I had a girl phoning me where a captain was threatening to get her deported because she was unhappy on the boat. And she hadn't done our course, I must be honest. She was through a friend of a friend that got hold of me and said, my captain's threatening to deport me because I want to quit because the chief stew's bullying me and I'm really unhappy. It's one thing that I think also G.U.E.S.T provides is an understanding of MLC, an understanding of the personal side and what you as an individual, what are your rights as a seafarer? What is the legal side of things? So, because there's often so many people who get into sort of bad situations, and it's really sad, and it puts them off the industry.
Yeah.
Joey, let me ask you, this industry is moving fast. In the past 10 years, it has moved so fast. We're getting bigger yachts, we're getting expedition yachts. These yachts are heading into places that they've never gone before. They're going for a longer period of time. Is G.U.E.S.T moving with yachting as it's growing so fast? Is G.U.E.S.T making sure that they are able to help these interior crew, especially if they're expected to be on board for, say, 3 to 6 months with no break because they are in an expedition yacht, that kind of thing? Are you moving with the times?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if you go back to the Deck and Tech, they didn't really get embedded into their new qualification routes until 2002. So we're 2008. So we're not that far behind. The difference is their qualifications are mandatory. So what's important for the G.U.E.S.T program, and I think we achieve this collectively with the trainers, and we have a small group of faces here, very valued and wonderful faces here, but it's a large group of trainers, and we all have our, that they all have their specialist subjects that they contribute to. We course develop all the time. We look to see, right, where are people falling down? What is the feedback from the students? We review the training that's out there. We just did a big review this last 6 months on what we currently offer, but we're also working on new courses. We're looking at interior refit, new build and refit. We're looking at sort of higher level management from which embeds the purser, including leadership and beyond. So that can potentially support people looking to go ashore in any sort of management role. We've just introduced a spa management. As Helen and Angie both understand, they came into the industry in sort of dual roles and potentially could have been involved with the spa or the beauty side on board in a dual role. And how do you manage that? How do you manage the timekeeping? How do you manage all the the health and safety? We're not teaching them how to do the actual beauty practices, but we're teaching them how to manage that department. And I think that's really important. So yeah, we try and stay as on trend as we possibly can, and that absolutely comes from the trainers who are front line to the students, who are getting the feedback from the current crew that are on board.
We sort of, I say we, but I feel very closely aligned with my students and continue sort of mentoring. we do still continue to mentor further into their career, and just sort of just a little bit going back to the previous question, why sort of training is so important. In another aspect, it's helpful from their situations on board and teaching them or helping them with certain experiences that they may not be used to, like we were saying there, MLC. A lot of the time, students or crew will just need advice and support in, oh, I'm not quite sure of this scenario that's being presented to me. And I feel really strongly about being available for that when students need, as probably we all do here. So no, in essence, my training will continue for sure.
Karine, we'll go back to you. Advanced leadership. What does advanced leadership offer, and why should that be something people should look into doing?
I think with regards to the advanced leadership course, it's discovering your unique leadership style rather than learning all the different theories and not actually applying the content. So it offers an ability to go on a research inquiry and ask for feedback. This often scares the students to ask for feedback for obvious reasons. But if you are not able to take on feedback and do something with it, then it really puts you in I'd say, disadvantaged position as a leader. So our focus is to really develop and harness the students' soft skills. So not only are they competent with the hard skills that we've been discussing today that the G.U.E.S.T accreditation programs offer, but it also complements it with having those soft skills to be an effective and competent crew member.
Well, and we all know you from your chats about mental health. Now, is there something that makes a good leader? Is mental health really important when you're a leader? Is it something that not only do you have to be in optimum state, I guess, but as well, you have to be able to recognize others being the same? Absolutely.
I think this is critical. And as we can see in our industry, and what is so fantastic is that it is evolving, where we're looking for mental health support and training around this area. What I'm seeing with crew is there is a high burnout. I do assessments with them and the results are coming out as extreme. And we really need to think how this impacts not only the industry, but their ability to deliver a high standard of service. So I think in the past, we've been very ignorant with regards to mental health issues and how it not only impacts the individual, but the dynamics in the team.
And do you think proper training can help with that? Just basic proper training in your ability to, know exactly when to do what, how to do it, as if it's memorized. Does that give you a bit of a better sort of start when it comes to your mental health, because you're not constantly tripping over your feet or second guessing yourself?
I think with psychoeducation, how it can put you at an advantage is that you can identify the early warning signs. Once you understand what the early warning signs are, then you're in a better position to put preventative measures into place so that you protect the crew members and the guests as well.
Well, at this stage, I'm going to open up the floor. If there's something that you feel any of us have missed, I would love for you to speak up, please.
I'd just like to add that both Lynne and I'm sure actually, and I know Helen with the Crew Academy's background and Angie, I've worked very closely with them, or the G.U.E.S.T program has, with various support, obviously along with Karine. Angie wrote a purser handbook, which is actually something that we're embedding into the G.U.E.S.T glossary. And in there, there's a lot of signposting to, and I'll let Angie probably speak a bit more about that in a minute, but the purpose of it is to signpost heads of departments to help them, but also the crew members under their under their watch to go and get help, where to go and get help for different areas. And I know Lynne does a huge amount as well through her role with the Professional Yachting Association, which is the crew association, and other other things within within luxury hospitality. And the Crew Academy, I mean, Andrew does a huge amount again with the crew mess and other areas. So I think, all of us are very much in touch with trying to support crew with mental health issues. And I think particularly the last 18 months that we've seen a rise in frustrations of being on board, and crew's mental health perhaps has been more exposed to what they've been sort of having to deal with, and the different sort of unprecedented times that they're currently having to sort of bend and shape themselves with. It's not the norm anymore, and that affects you in very many ways, particularly for those that haven't been able to get home and see families or what have you. So I think there's never been a better need, I think, than now to have those support and signposting in place.
Yes, it's what we said earlier. The proper training takes the fear out of the job. It takes the angst out of it. When people know they can do it, they're fully equipped with the knowledge. It doesn't become overwhelming. And so when you layer on that, maybe dealing with difficult guests, but then we give training in that. We train how to identify in the different ways of the different cultures in behaving towards you. So with all of this knowledge, it really does empower. I mean, that is a good word. It really empowers people to be able to do a very challenging job well. And so there's never, as Joe said, there's never been a better time for people to engage in these courses, which are absolutely going to give them the knowledge that they need. They're going to empower them, and they're going to give them the ability to enjoy the work instead of being anxious about it. And there are many things that can make you anxious when you're working with super rich people or powerful people or very fine furnishings and expensive glasses and all of this sort of stuff. There's a lot to be afraid about, but with proper training, that fear can be taken away. That will reduce the incidence of anxiety in the industry to a great degree.
And also, if I can jump in, the ongoing support that a lot of us, like Helen was saying, I know that all the trainers offer ongoing support to their students, and G.U.E.S.T, the whole structure of G.U.E.S.T is to progress through. It's not just a one course, one done, off you go, good luck. It's a continuous thing. And I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people here. As trainers, we all feel like a big part of a family. And Lynne, you were saying earlier, yes, we all run our individual businesses, but we all work for one goal, and that's to provide our students with training and confidence. And confidence is such an important thing, isn't it? And just it's the difference between being happy and longevity in the job and, better crews, because that also shines through to the guests, doesn't it? So, yeah.
I must admit, I'm very proud of the work that the trainers do. All of you, the way you follow the students from the time they turn up, or from the minute they book a course with you, and that right through their training programs, and in often, even placing them, watching their careers, supporting them with, even if it's not even relevant to what you're teaching, you're answering questions and giving them that support. And I think that is a credit to the passion. And I think the sincerity of the trainers that join the G.U.E.S.T family, because I think there is a massive sincerity there to actually do the job right. I think we're not all in this we have to make a living. That's life. Rent needs paying, and we need to buy, food. But it's the sincerity of wanting to do this for the right reasons. And I think that really shines through with all the trainers that are part of the G.U.E.S.T family. And that's why I think we all get on so well, because we literally speak the same language. Very few occasions we have little sort of like fallings out on whether this should be the terminology should be this or that, but the ethos of it is very pure. Yeah.
And I think it's so fantastic that now this is available for the interior. They can now be taken seriously as a recognised and respected crew member, no longer necessarily sort of labelled with the pillow fluffer, dishwasher stacker sort of scenario. So, by following the amazing career path that the G.U.E.S.T program has, it does give a lot of credence now to the interior department, and hopefully more respect from the captains and other departments as well.
It will certainly redress the balance. And I think this is where, and I've always said this, I've been saying this for years, Joey, you'll back me up on this. It is where I think crew recruitment agencies and management companies can help us enormously, because until the GU.E.S.T program is mandatory, it won't be given as much recognition as, for example, in the STCW, but it is equally as important. And if crew recruitment officers and management companies ensured that interior crew had proper training through the GU.E.S.T program, they would not only be helping the professionalism of the industry, but they would also be meeting the expectations of the people that they're putting on boats in terms of owners and charter guests. And for me, the onus is on them to ensure that the guests are getting the best service possible from properly trained crew. And they are falling short every time they put guests on board when they know that some of the crew are not properly trained. We've provided the program, we've got the expertise, we've got the professionalism. They're the ones that can help this program move forward by ensuring that the interior crew are encouraged to take the program from the beginning to the end, from the introductory course to the management and leadership and on to Purser. It's as simple as that. As far as
it's a bit of a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it needs to be industry-led, and that's where we are right here, right now. We have this amazing product, and the industry needs to lead on this. The industry needs to capture it and put it to use where it's, you know, the bottom line is the owner's expectations, and that's what everybody's in this game. So
owners and charter guests, yeah,
particularly charter guests, yeah.
I responded actually to a Facebook post. This young girl was reaching out because she wanted to progress in her career, and she wanted to know which training courses she should take in order to progress. And another young lady posted out, you don't need any training. You can get all on board experience from your chief stew. I jumped in at that point. And I actually said, well, what happens if the chief stew is crap? Sorry. But what happens if she's not a great chief stew? She might have learned on the job, which is great. She might have come from a 28 metre, 30 metre sole stew, which they also call themselves chief stews. So what's her background? What's her training? And as I said, I applaud this young girl for wanting to progress in her career. And here's a little chart that you can go to. Here are the trainers that you can contact. But we've still got to break that stigma, even from some of the interior crew, the importance of training.
We hear it so much, Angie, where people phone us because we obviously offer level 2 food hygiene and we also offer STCW. And they phone us and we say, well, would you like to do your stew course as well? You agree? And they go, oh no, my friend's on yachts. They say, I don't need the stew course. I'll learn everything there. And, you know, we have to sort of very nicely say, yeah, no. But wouldn't you like to? Because then also people say to you, oh, you just want to make money. And Laura and I are very, very, and like everyone who does guest, integrity is huge for us, because it's so important that, like Joey said, yes, we've got to pay the rent and feed ourselves at the end of the day, but also we're very aware that going forward, people will carry the name of Trilogy, of our training, the name of G.U.E.S.T as well, you know, and we put our heart and soul into this, and we care so much, and I'm sure as everyone does, about the success of our students. You know, so it's so important that carries through and goes with them, you know, and that they have that as you say, that it bleeds out into the rest of the industry as well. And hopefully that's what we're all doing by putting wonderfully trained people in the industry, that eventually, you know, that it's growing and growing.
Yeah. Well, ladies, I'm going to have to say we've got to call time, but it has been an absolute pleasure. Now, in a day and age when there are a ton of people popping up with all sorts of training available, I'm going to ask each one of you this question, and I'm going to start with Angela. Why G.U.E.S.T?
You have guaranteed structure, closely monitored, keeping up with industry standards, and it's phenomenal training by phenomenal trainers.
Thank you. This is Angela Wallace from the Purser Trainer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rhea.
Lauren Norton from Trilogy Luxury Academy. Why G.U.E.S.T?
Because you know that when you enter the industry or when you carry on in the industry, that qualification carries weight. It carries a reputation that says, I'm confident I can do what I say, and it's what it says on my CV. And that it offers you in a career for in a department that previously maybe didn't have a set career course.
If I can just jump in and say, if you can just have a look at the panel that's here and the wealth of information and knowledge and experience that is behind G.U.E.S.T. Yes, of course, there's a number of courses that are popping up. Who's behind it? What's their experience? What do they have to offer? And I'm sorry to say, but look here at the number of years that just this small panel behind G.U.E.S.T have spent on yachts. And actually have the experience and understand what the industry is all about and what it needs. And it's our passion to improve the industry as much as possible.
We're a 2-for-1 deal.
That's Laura Norton and Laura Launder from Trilogy Luxury Academy. Thank you so much for your input. Helen Grundy, she is from the Crew Academy. Helen, why G.U.E.S.T?
G.U.E.S.T carries and has been unsurpassed in its standards that are expected and that are followed by so many. I don't know of another program like it, of course, and I think that's where the bar is very high. So I think once you have that associated with your training, I certainly felt the same when I started with the Crew Academy, then I knew that I was at the top of the game.
Thank you very much, Helen Grundy, the Crew Academy. Thank you for joining us. Karine, Rayson.
For me, it's an institution that you can trust. And that is so, so important. You spend a lot of money on your education and you need to feel confident behind the quality of trainers that you're getting. And I know from Joey's perspective and having worked with Joey and going through the accreditation process, she's extremely thorough with her work in terms of checking that it's up to standard. And that is my biggest advice, is do your research when you're looking to do a course.
Thank you. That's Karine Rayson from the Crew Coach. And Lynne Edwards from Luxury Hospitality Management. Why G.U.E.S.T?
Well, it's the only course that I know of that is specifically created for people who want to excel in the super yacht industry. So just as Laura said, there is a wealth of knowledge, decades of experience, which are freely given, all of our experience, all of our knowledge freely given in this career path that's been properly created for the super yacht industry. It's continually updated and it's given by properly accredited trainers who have to meet quite stringent prerequisites in order to become a guest trainer, in the same way that our facilities have to meet difficult prerequisites as well. So you know as a student that you're getting a really quality product.
Once again, Lynne Edwards from Luxury Hospitality Management, we thank you so much for joining us. Now, Joey, this is your baby. And what do you think of what people have said, and where do you think G.U.E.S.T is going to go in the future?
Well, first of all, it's not just my baby. This is an invested product that the trainers, many of whom are here today, started on a blank piece of paper with me in 2008. So, you know, this is a collective product, and a successful one because of the trainers that we've got. And I think, you know, picking up on what Laura said and Lynne and the others, I think I counted the other day, I was updating some stuff on our website. I think we've got nearly 400 years worth of experience between all the trainers together. That's quite a few years of experience. There's all been pounded into updating and developing the training. And that's the beauty of what we do, is this is a collective effort by all of us. And I think the future is open. It's enormous. You know, we can build and create the training programs as the demand comes in, and that's pretty much what we've been doing. You know, we don't pop up with a new course just because we suddenly feel like it on a Sunday afternoon to do something. We do it based on feedback, demand, where are people having problems, where are the issues. We're always looking for the holes and the gaps of how we can support the interior crew out there. You know, we want every single crew member that's in the interior department to succeed. We want every single crew member that's in the interior department to feel empowered and to feel trained and to feel happy with what they're doing, and to really have the confidence to know what they're doing, and to be able to mentor and train their juniors as they grow up the ranks. And, you know, we're all there to support that. It's all available to them. We just need them to come and be part of that, you know. And as Angie says, the Facebook post story earlier, it's like, you know, it's the yin and yang of where we are today with the attitudes, and we're hoping to get more positive attitudes where people really see, you know, there's a training investment that has got a value to it, and you're seeing some of the value right here in this forum today.
And Joey, let's not forget, these are all transferable skills. So it's not like when you finish your yachting career, your career is over. These are all skills that you can take on shore when you do decide to go land-based and start a family or whatever it is you want to do.
Absolutely.
You've got so much under your belt that you can do.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us you know, so part of the G.U.E.S.T program's aims is to move a lot of these skills and qualifications ashore, so they are recognised. And we are working with all sorts of land-based hospitality and other, you know, sort of career path options, and to be able to provide those opportunities for the future. So we haven't stopped. Our cogs go fast and we keep going.
Well, I have to say thank you to everyone. And I want to let the viewing audience out there know that every single one of these lovely people, we will make sure to provide all of their information below this when it airs, as well as, of course, any other guest trainer on the face of the planet, because there are a lot of them, and there's guaranteed to be one in your area. So if you are looking to up your game on the interior, as you should be, and as these ladies have told us, it doesn't matter where you are in your interior career. It's not only going to help you today, it's going to help you tomorrow, and it's going to help you when you become onshore, when you move onshore, as it has these ladies as well. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thanks, Rhea.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
You've been watching the webinar Trainers Journeys from Ship to Shore. My name is Rhea. I have been your host. We'll see you again soon.